Hey, welcome to the Bearded Guy Podcast channel. I hope you're having a great day today. Now, today I'm going to take a little detour from the normal podcast fare that I post for week after week, and we're going to deviate a little bit from the conspiracy theories and the paranormal and things that are just odd and weird and don't fit into that neat little category we call reality. Today I'm going to pay homage to one of my broadcasting heroes, a legend, to me at least, a legend in the industry. And today we're talking about none other than Art Bell and the Art Bell effect. Now, again, it was always fascinating to me to listen to Coast AM with Art Bell. That voice was so distinct and that greeting was always the same. And who can forget that bumper music? You hear that bumper music to this day and you kind of pick up a little bit and you go, is it Art Bell? The song is actually The Chase by Giorgio Moroder, and it's here on YouTube. You can find it. Just type in Giorgio Moroder, The Chase, and you'll find the Art Bell bumper music. And the video that's actually with the music it's kind of cheesy. It is what it is. I mean, but still, that sound, it just is so ingrained in my mind, and I always get the mental image of Art Bell sitting behind the microphone under the desert sky. It was just amazing that time to be a young man and to be so enthralled with, the offering that he had to the radio community. A lot of people don't know this, but Art Bell actually started broadcasting at a very young age, at the age of 13. Now, at the age of 13, I was still trying to figure out if I was cool enough, or if I could, how to ride a bicycle, if I got to jump a ramp. Could I do some crazy things that I did as a youth? But Art Bell knew what he wanted from a very young age, and that was to be in radio broadcasting, and he started that again at the age of 13. He was also a medic during the Vietnam War, and during that time in the Vietnam War, he ran a pirate radio station, and the pirate radio station played, of course, anti-war songs, which was the norm at the time of the Vietnam War. The cool thing about that, though, is all of those things and all of those influences in his life taught him a lot of different lessons to better prepare him for his life in broadcasting. And I think it's fascinating that the show Coast to Coast was actually syndicated and had such a wide-reaching audience that in the year 1997, the show's reach was 460 stations. That's all across the U.S. that Art Bell could be heard from midnight to morning, if you will. Now, he also actually did some shows from the Philippines because he moved there and did a couple of not a couple, but he did a fair amount of the shows from the Philippines because he moved there for his wife. And when he retired from Coast to Coast in 2003, it kind of took away from, that show for me. Now, again, I'm not bashing the show Coast to Coast AM by any means. I still think it's fascinating to listen to some of the topics that are talked about. But I think it lost its magic when Art Bell went away. I think it lost its something. It's something there that was just amazing to people. It was the Art Bell experience, if you will. That's what it was. But he did have another show after that. It was Midnight in the Desert, but it didn't last long. And again, he had health problems and different things that were hindering him. And of course, there were contracts and different things that kind of stopped that along the way. But again, when Coast to Coast lost Art Bell, it lost the magic that it had, to me at least. And to me, as a podcaster and as a YouTube video creator, and now thinking about doing other things in the broadcasting audio genre, if you will, I look back to Art Bell and his influence on not only people, on people like me, and I'm sure countless others that do podcasts that center around, of course, the paranormal and conspiracy theories and different things like that. And it's always fascinating to me how certain people that, that are in your atmosphere and not in your immediate atmosphere, but that influenced you in one way or another, whether that's an actor, a radio host, people who are in the media. It's amazing how those fingerprints can be left on individuals over the course of time and actually, spur you, whether that's subconscious or consciously, into doing things that maybe you've got that interest in, especially like this, a podcast. So Art Bell was always fascinating to me. I remember I worked a night shift job as a younger man, and I would always make time to listen to Art Bell one way or the other because I was so fascinated with it. Now, before the days of mass information sharing, you had to rely on people like Art Bell to get information that wasn't in the mainstream, to get information that wasn't on every television channel or radio station, stuff that was outside the norm, stuff that people would just, tilt their head and scratch their head and go, really, what are you talking about? Art Bell gave a voice to those people. And that was the beautiful thing about Art Bell. He may not have believed everything that people, when they called in, talked about. He may not have subscribed to the theories that everybody was sharing on his radio show. But he never ridiculed them. He never made them feel inferior. He always gave them a voice. He always gave them the platform and made them feel like, yes, I got my message out there. Sadly, we've lost that. Sadly, we have lost that kind of care and concern for those that interact with our content. And sadly, we've lost that as human beings, to really just stop for a moment and let someone else speak and let their voice be heard. And again, you doesn't have to agree with them completely, but he made them feel comfortable enough to share their story. One of the things that I always remember about Art Bell, he had a little vocal comma, if you will, especially when he was on the air with a guest, and he obviously was picking up on that. Maybe you're kind of not telling the truth here, or maybe I really don't believe what you're saying. And I always picked up on that vocal comma, and maybe you did as well. It was always, that was the vocal comma that he used so many times. I always remember that. It stands out to me to this day, and it's kind of burned into my memory banks. But again, Art Bell was such an influence on people that do podcast and radio shows, and such an influence on me. I tell you, one of the things that I do prize that I have by Art Bell is a book that he wrote, The Quickening. It's Today's Trends in Tomorrow's World. And the reason I love this book so much is, one, it's written by Art Bell, but the other thing is that it's actually hand-signed. And I don't know how many of those are in existence. I'm sure there's a good bit, because this has an actual physical signature by Art Bell in it. And that is on my bookshelf, and that is one of my treasures. It's just a simple little book. But it's still one of those things that I can look back on from my youth and know that in a strange way, I took part in that Art Bell experience. And sadly, because he passed away in 2018, a lot of today's generation will never know the magic that was the Art Bell broadcast from the Nevada desert, under the desert sky. They'll never know that live experience. Of course, there's archives and there's things that people can go back and listen to, but there was something about that live broadcast that was just pure magic. So Art Bell was a hero. He was a hero of mine. And I look fondly upon the days of listening to Coast AM. I look fondly on the days of, having my mind opened to new and different ways of thinking, to new and different ideas about not only the world around me, but the world that I couldn't see around me, the paranormal, the aliens, Area 51. And I always remember some of his guests as well. Richard C. Hoagland was one that always came on, and I remember they had a relationship of, a professional working relationship. And Hoagland would come on, and Bell would talk to him about conspiracy theories and talk to him about aliens and Area 51 and different things in that vein. And it was always a fascinating subject and always a fascinating evening to hear those two bouncing ideas off of each other. So the magic of Coast to Coast AM, it'll always live on in my memory, even though I don't listen to it today, because again, that magic is gone. And it was gone in 2018 when Art Bell passed away. So for those of you that have joined me today, thank you for stopping in and watching this video. Who are your influences? Who are the people in your life that kind of shape the way you think and the way you feel about things? If you're like me, you've got one like Art Bell that has just fascinated you to no end. And again, that voice, that presence, that radio show at midnight, every night, you'd make your way to there to listen to Coast with Art Bell. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a better day tomorrow and a wonderful week ahead of you. And until next time.